Hey, this is Veronica Setsky, and you're watching Pax8 Live.
We want to help you take your MSP business to the next level.
We have just expanded the amount of resources that you as partners have through Pax8.
Real security is about how you manage the losses, how you take the punches, how well you detect, how well you respond.
This is where we'll be bringing you content that you want to see every week to help you grow your business.
And I think the real winners here are the managed service providers.
Who is this?
I'm Chief Cuteness Officer.
My advice is know what you're selling and know whether it's making you money.
I ended up living in Korea for 4 years.
I was wondering when we were going to talk about the elephant in the room.
But thanks, Dad.
Let's talk about risk assessment. So there's all kinds of ways to respond to risk.
Man, it's great to see you, Dom.
If you're really interested in just the nerdy bits of home security, definitely check out those resources. That was a huge thunder.
We keep finding ways that we're helping partners, finding either, balance in their life or focus or purpose.
Practices that are going to help improve your project management skills or your finances.
We're here to talk about setting long-term goals and then how to achieve them.
Increasing your quality, therefore becoming the best place in town to work.
Welcome to Academy Live.
Well, happy Tuesday, everyone. We hope you all had a really nice and relaxing Labor Day weekend and you were able to unplug and get away from your devices. But we're excited to be back with Academy Live today. We're going back to school. That's our theme this month. And every Tuesday in September, we'll have a different course and topic, bringing a coach or an expert to educate us about those very, very important topics to managed services industry. So I want to get in the spirit with some back to school photos, and I'll share a few of them with you. So this is a photo of me and my brothers on the first day of school. And I think there's another one of me in kindergarten. That's 1997, me with the lunchbox and backpack there. I think I still have that lunchbox somewhere in my house. But yeah.
Rex, I don't even want to imagine what our pictures would look like in 97. Those are adorable, Bessie. I'm really glad you shared those.
Yeah, I just was sent a text to my parents. They were like, oh, let's open up all the photo albums and we'll find them for you. So it was really fun. So to kick off our back to school theme, we are very happy to have Rob Hurd, executive coach at Pax8 Academy, with us today. Rob is going to tell us all about PSA foundations and life of a ticket. We're going to hear about time entry and time tracking, strategic time management, dispatching, and just Service Help Desk 101, some exciting extra on-demand courses that we'll be referencing at the end of the show today. There'll be a lot of valuable information, so stick around because you're not going to want to miss this.
Now, Bessie, today is a very special day. So it's September 5th. Do you know what today is?
Well, I do know that today is the International Day of Charity. That's an important one.
Very good. I like that. And being in the giving mood, so something to keep on the top of your mind. I think that's a great one.
There's a lot of them.
There's something else, Bessie. Do you know what else makes today special?
This one is National Cheese Pizza Day.
Oh, how could you forget that?
Getting everyone hungry. Yeah.
I know, hungry. I see that picture
pizza.
And I think I need to be somewhere.
I want pizza.
Now, yeah. But what's another one? There's something still out there that's very special about today.
It's National Be Late for Something Day.
Welcome to Academy Live. Oh wait, sorry.
Yeah, we did.
Just a little late, Rex. Come on.
That's one that I want to celebrate a lot. That I should have known. See, you know what? How much of my life was I already celebrating that without even knowing?
You didn't even know, yeah.
A national special day for that. But there's still one more thing out there, Bessie. Can you help me remember?
No, drum roll.
One more thing.
I know what it is. It's Rex Frank's birthday. Hooray! Aww.
That stuff's always a surprise for us. It's like you got to be careful because the camera's always on, apparently.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen when you're on camera with Pax8 Studios or when it's going to come back.
That was amazing. I think I've seen that look before. That double, like the second look. Yeah, you've got that down, Rex. I love that.
53 today.
Very good. I wasn't even going to ask. I was going to be polite and not ask, but I'm glad you.
I don't mind
shared
sharing.
that.
I earned it.
So, I want to. So I found this. I want to share this with you. So you're Virgo. Virgos born on September 5th are known for their highly analytical and practical nature. They have a sharp intellect and exceptional attention to detail that enables them to solve complex problems. In other words, sounds like Rex. Happy birthday, Rex.
Yeah, I'll take
birthday.
it.
Do you have any fun plans? Any birthday wishes? Anything that you're thinking about doing this day?
Yeah, I got asked this morning what I wanted to do for my birthday dinner, and I just said I want to be with my family. So we are going out to dinner, and I'm going to have a ribeye someplace.
Nice.
Left that up to my wife.
How did you celebrate your birthday as a kid? What are some of your favorite birthday celebration memories?
Oh my gosh. Some of the first memories would be the in the backyard with all the friends over in September. It's always back to school. My senior year of high school was the only year I ever had to go to school on my birthday. So, because it kept backing up, getting closer and closer and closer. And I thought I was going to escape without ever having to go to school on my birthday. But in 12th grade, they got me.
What a way to
everyone can decorate your locker. It's fun.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, Rex. I hope it's a great one. I hope you enjoy your dinner and time with family. I'd like to welcome and bring on Rob Hurd, executive coach, to Academy Live. Welcome, Rob.
Thanks so much, Chris. Thanks. Hey, everybody.
Hey, Rob.
See ya.
Yeah, I feel like I'm on the Brady Bunch. Hi, Bessie. Anyway, Rob, as is tradition, could you take just a second and give us a little humble brag about yourself?
Ooh, humble brag. All right. So, been around the IT industry for a while, probably longer than the gray hair actually allows me to admit. But yeah, previous MSP owner, joined Pax8. Couldn't be happier. Great team here. And been here just short of 2 years. And again, just incredible every day. Everybody brags about find something that you really enjoy and it's not work. Well, definitely working with the Pax8 Academy. It hasn't been work for the last 2 years.
That's too easy. I'm not gonna lean into that one. But we do tease you about some things. And what are some of the things that we tease you about, Rob? Where you're from?
Chris, I really don't know what you're talking about. And so I think
right on schedule.
As a hoser, we have a process for that, or process. I get confused a little bit now.
What?
Yeah, and our check actually has QU in it, so.
Yeah, and labor has a U, and color has a U. Crazy.
Yeah, we actually just celebrated Labor Day.
This extra use.
So yes, Chris alluding to the fact I am based in the Great White North, part of a ever-growing Pax8 Canada team. So go A team. So big shout out to the Pax8 Canada team.
That's brilliant. Well, and Rob, one of the traditions we have here every week is we share a quote, and I'd like for you to kind of share the quote with us, if you don't mind. I'd love to have you kind of read it to our audience and tell us a little bit about why you picked that quote.
Sure. All right. So poor planning on your part does not necessitate an emergency on mine. And a little tongue in cheek with the quote. Ideally, it's one of those things that as MSPs we would love to say to our clients. But I kind of took it as a mantra to be the fact that that's where I wanted my partners and my clients to get to. I didn't want to get blindsided by those P1 tickets on a Saturday afternoon. So putting a lot of effort front loaded into my clients when I was an MSP, really trying to alleviate those emergencies.
That's awesome. I love that quote. Rex, I'm curious. You nodded very strongly on that one. That's resonated with you too as well, right?
Well, I mean, that's what managed service is all about, right? Leveraging tools, technology, standardization. Our business review process needs to get these issues out on the table so that, they're running their systems in a, more smart, more intelligent way so that, we cut down on the number of incidents coming at us. And, we need to learn how to use our business reviews to make the business justifications so that they put the right redundancies in place so that we don't get stuck with a disaster that could have easily been averted by doing just a little bit of pre-planning.
And Rob, not to ask a leading question, but do you find, you said, the planning, but also setting expectations? Does that kind of lead into this a little bit as well?
That's definitely a big one, Chris, is helping communicate as we're going through our triage and dispatch process, which we're going to learn a lot about today, as well as through the life of the ticket. I think that setting those expectations and that communication really drives our ability to get that green smiley face at the end of a ticket.
Being proactive, how important is that, and just avoiding those emergencies. Rob, I recently saw you in Canada. I was in Toronto. I think we have a photo. It was a great opportunity for us to work the booth together and talk all about Academy. I know that in addition to coaching, you also run a peer group, and we're starting several, I think, Canada-only peer groups. And so it's great to have you there to talk the talk and talk about the conversions between Canadian dollars and US dollars and help our partners out when we had questions. And it was a lot of fun to be there. But I'm really excited for the mini course that you're going to be teaching today on Academy Live. One of the reasons for that is that I know you're going to make it interactive. You're going to have some kind of activity for us that we have to be, on the lookout for. And I think that's what always makes it so great when we have these presentations, or especially instructor-led courses or peer groups, where making them really interactive and making sure that we all come together. So I'm going to tease that because I'm so excited about that part of it. I know you're going to have a great activity because you told me about it when I saw you last week.
Thanks, Bessie. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that you weren't giving away the keys to the kingdom, but yeah, definitely a little bit of a teaser.
Exactly. Rex, do you want to say anything to set up the course for today?
Yeah, I just kind of like to talk a little bit about the business growth stages and how that impacts things like triage, dispatch, and time entry. When the company is smaller, maybe 5 or 6 people or less, we talk a lot about self-dispatch, right? We don't really have a dispatcher. I don't know that we really need one either when we're a little bit smaller. For example, we got the same person doing quoting and then doing purchasing, and then doing dispatching, right? So they don't need to use any systems. They can keep it all in their head and do a very good job. And just through kind of tribal awareness, dispatching kind of occurs, and your engineers can do a pretty good job of making sure everything's getting done. But as the company grows a little bit, for example, you have a different person doing quoting, a different person doing purchasing, and a different person doing dispatching. Now you have to have some kind of a system in place and have some kind of process to follow so that the right information gets put in that system so we can hand it off from the selling process to the purchasing process to the dispatching process. And our dependence on the systems increases. And then as we move into a little bit bigger company, maybe in that 30 plus, 30 to 50 person company, now we've got multiple people doing sales, multiple people doing purchasing, and multiple people possibly doing dispatching. And so now, like what you used to be able to keep in your head, you can't keep in your head anymore, because you got to share your thoughts. So you have to increase your dependence on the systems. And I think what Rob's going to be showing today is an example of what those systems might look like and what those processes might look like. But be aware that that's kind of why we do the instructor-led courses and the peer group discussions of this stuff, and the coaching is we think our content is 80% accurate for any individual company, and it's through interacting with peers or your coach or somebody that you figure out what your customized 20% might look like, so you can get it into your systems and the way you do business. So I'm really looking forward to Rob, going through this today. Just kind of keep in mind your mileage may vary depending on your growth stage or business maturity level.
Definitely. And Chris, I think I skipped over you and I went straight to Rex. Is there anything that you wanted to say to set up this topic today?
I'll keep it. I mean, one, Rob's just entertaining. I mean, Rob's great to listen to. But as a previous MSP owner, he's been in those shoes. It's like those commercials. We know a lot because we've seen a lot, or whatever it is. Rob knows a lot because he's seen a lot, and it's fun to kind of
I
learn.
thought you were going to use the hair club. I'm not just a customer.
I couldn't do that, Rex. I although Halloween's coming up, but I think that dispatch is a big thing, but I also think the tool sets, PSA, time, billing are all things that really come into play as we mature. So Bessie, I'll put it back, and Rob, you can kind of jump in and turn it over to you, and let's learn.
Yeah, I think we're ready for you, Rob. If you want to start the presentation and take it away.
All right, folks, thanks so much. This is kind of a boiled down version of one of the breakout sessions that I did at our Pax8 Beyond event. So for those of you who were nice enough to join me, some of this might be a little bit of a review. For those who didn't get a chance to join, hopefully you get to take something away. All right, folks, summary of life of a ticket. So really, as Rex said, most owners, when they're starting out, they run their business on gut instinct, right? That muscle and feel. But as coaches, our goal is to kind of move your organization to start making data-driven decisions. So where are the areas inside your ticketing system or your PSA that you should be focused on collecting the data? And how do we collect reliable data? How do we measure outcomes of agreements and get invoices out correctly? And lastly, how do we take what you're hearing today and apply it in your organization? And Rex said, mileage may vary, but oftentimes there's little nuggets that you can take away no matter where you are in those growth stages. So for those of you who may not know, and you may have seen one of these pictures in Rex's birthday pictures, Rex is heavily involved in the scouting movement. And this is actually something that Rex and I both share a really strong passion for. Now, although I've hung up my wood badge woggle years ago, both of us will remember, and hopefully I'm not catching Rex off base on this one, something called a Kim's game. And so I'm going to show you a picture really briefly, and I want you to, think about it. And I'm going to actually come back to it later on in our presentation. So here's the picture. All right. So, folks, kind of an introductory question. I don't get the luxury of you guys, all of you being able to raise your hand and be seeing it. So these are kind of rhetorical questions, but does it take you longer than an hour to reconcile your invoices each time you do them? Whether it's weekly, monthly, hopefully not less than once a month. Now, what if that took you more than half a day? What if it took you more than a whole day? Well, these are the types of things that really we're here to address. So part of life of a ticket gets summarized or boiled down to 5 chances to get the data and get the invoice correct. And so details are fleeting. Our ability to retain really important information decreases as time lapses. And so it's important to capture that data in real time. So let's take a look at what we call our 5 chances to get the invoice correct and try to boil those down. So what are the benefits of following these 5 steps? Well, first, you're going to get every ticket worked in the right order by the right person. And don't worry, we'll boil all these 5 things down and start going into a little more detail. You're going to start getting accurate data, and I talked about that earlier, right? You're going to be able to trust the reports, and it's going to allow you to move into that data-driven decision mode. Third, you're going to be able to move the needle on your ticket quality and your ticket assurance. When a ticket closes and it stays closed, that's important because rework, that's expensive. 4, you're going to be able to account for all the billable resource time. If you think that ticket rework is expensive, time leakage is even more expensive. And lastly, you're going to be able to actually deliver accurate invoices in a timely manner. All right, so chance 1, triage. I want everyone to imagine a hospital. Okay, you walk into the emergency area and what do you see? Well, you see a triage team. And what's that team's role in the hospital? Well, first, they're there to collect contact information so that they know who to send the bill to. Now, a little different up here in Canada, but still thought I'd throw that in there. Number 2, they're there to collect critical information. Why are you even in the hospital to start off with? And third, how urgent is your issue compared to other people in the waiting room? Is it a hangnail or is it a gunshot wound, right? And which needs to be attended to first? The doctors in a hospital can't see everyone at once, nor can they always see the last person that walked in. And even worse, they can't always take somebody just because they make the most amount of noise. There's an order that the triage team sets up for patients to be able to be worked, right? And more urgent issues will actually bump you down the list. Well, that's exactly the same in IT service. Tickets need to be triaged so that we can set them up for success. So we need to collect the 5 questions for every ticket: the who, the what, the where, the how, and the when. And as we collect that information and enter it into the ticket, that sets us up for success. All right, our second chance, time is value. So share a quick personal story. And this one kind of resonated with a lot of folks at Beyond. Before joining Pax8, I was working as a middle manager in a large multinational organization. And I was responsible for actually working with the legal team whenever there were internal or external forensic investigations. So one case in particular was actually related to alleged embezzlement by a local finance person. Well, we were able to find the smoking gun because the person used their work email to communicate all the details. I didn't say that they were a smart person. I just said that they were caught. So during the cross-examination, where I had actually been subpoenaed to court, the defense counsel tried to discredit my evidence. They tried really hard to break down all the notes that I had taken, but because I had a standard process and all the notes were actually in the ticket, they couldn't discredit me. And so despite the fact that 3 months had passed since I had done the investigation, I was actually able to stand behind everything that I had said. And it was the details of those notes that helped my evidence not get thrown out. So you notice on the slide a question: do you keep inventory? So my challenge to you is, no matter how big or small your MSP or IT service provider organization is, everybody has inventory. So here's an analogy. You go out to your local distributor and you buy 8 computers. And halfway through the week, you take 4 and you throw them in the dumpster behind your office. You only actually deliver 4 to the client who ordered them. Why would you ever throw 4 computers out? Makes no sense. But if we take a look at time as our inventory, we do this every single day with our engineer labor. Service is time and time is money. If engineers aren't going through the process of tracking all of their time, you've lost the ability to find out and understand where are they spending their time in the day. You've lost the accurate data for what we call engineer utilization, and you're impacting on a very big level your agreement efficiency. We talk about time in the fact that all time is billable. It really just depends on who's paying for it. If the time is billed to an agreement or a contract or flat fee ticket, or it's invoiced to the client, that's great. But folks, if you're not billing for your time externally, you're absorbing that cost internally. Most PSA systems actually struggle with knowing the difference between time tracked and time on tickets. So, little nugget, look into ways that you can start seeing your total amount of time of your engineers on shift versus just the time that's sitting on a ticket. All right, chances 3 and 4 is our daily reviews. So another virtual raise of hand question. How many of you have ever taught a kid to ride a bike? Right. So we hold on to the back of the seat for a while, but at some point in time, we have to let go. Well, why? Well, we do this so that the kids can learn how to do it on their own. And our technical resources, they're exactly the same. If we keep fixing their data entry mistakes, they're never going to learn. Be strong and push mistakes back to the engineers and let them identify what a data entry mistake looks like. Because in the long run, they're going to be able to enter better data for you. And it'll make the review process for the tickets and for your time entries that much better. Some quick takeaways on when our ticket review process. Ticket notes need to be clear and concise. We need to be able to understand the work that was done. And if we have to parse through an entire paragraph, it's really hard to understand if what was supposed to be done actually did get done. take a look at time entries that are less than 6 minutes or over 2 hours. It's not to say they're wrong, but there could have been data entry issues in those time entries. Make sure you're looking for real start and end times. A ticket that I worked doesn't start exactly at 4 o'clock and end at 4:20. It can start at 3:59 and end at 4:12 because we want that accurate utilization. Make sure that the ticket is set up to invoice properly. Are we billing against a contract or an agreement, or are we sending an invoice to the client? Having all of that set up and reviewed properly is going to help us with engineer utilization reporting. Our last chance is our invoice review. So not to embarrass him at all, and I really hope that I paraphrased this properly, but early on in my coaching career, I learned a story about Rex. So Rex tells us coaches when we start out his story about invoicing. So when Rex ran his MSP, he made a bold promise to his clients. The promise was if they ever received an invoice that they weren't expecting, they didn't have to pay for it. Now, when I heard that story the first time, no offense, Rex, I thought that was crazy. But I actually learned the incredible method to his madness. Everyone in the MSP was trained to ensure that during the whole life of the ticket, if anything changed from in scope to out of scope or covered to not covered, somebody communicated to the client. It was a super simple process, but clients began to trust invoices more and more. And they actually got to the point of processing invoices quicker because they knew if there was any exception billing, that it had already been communicated and actually approved. Now, please, I'm not saying that all of you at the end of this YouTube live show should jump on a call with your finance person and implement such a radical policy. But wouldn't it be great to know that invoices, by the time they were ready to be sent, were as accurate as the entire team could make them? All right, folks, pop quiz. All about going back to school. Now, remember the picture that I showed you earlier? Let's try testing everybody's recall on the details. So maybe drop some results in the chat, but I'm going to throw 4 questions out there. How many items were made of metal? What color was the glove? How many windows on the school bus? And how full was the water bottle? How many of you do we think actually were able to recall every detail? How many of you do you think would be able to answer every question if you had written down the details while you were looking at the picture? Here's the parallel. This holds true to when your staff are recording details in time and resolution notes on your tickets. Some takeaways and next steps for everyone here. We have a free on-demand course called Help Desk 101. And this is going to help us kind of go back and look at the basics of our 5 steps, 5 chances, and our life of a ticket. We also have a instructor-led course called Operations for Efficiency and Profitability. And lastly, if there's anything that came out of this course that you don't feel comfortable trying to do on your own, definitely encourage you to reach out to your channel account manager and talk about the opportunity to do one-on-one business coaching with coaches like myself and my colleagues. Folks, thanks so much for the opportunity and the time.
Boom. Knowledge drop. Rob, I'd like to ask you kind of to reflect on those lessons. The things you said just make so much sense, but what were your biggest challenges in your MSP? Like, what were some of the light bulb moments? I want to hear about kind of what were the things that really transformed your business of the things you talked about.
So, Chris, I think the biggest thing for me was consistency. And so while we tried really hard to triage, dispatch, set a ticket up for success, my problem as an owner was making sure that processes were followed the same time every time. And so building that muscle memory, in coaching, we talk about our 5 phases of coaching. And really what differentiates coaching from consulting is that 5th phase, the inspect what you expect. And so that was probably my biggest downfall, was I had every good intention, but didn't have the methods in place to be able to look at what I was trying to get at and measure my process along the way.
Makes sense.
I love that. I want to bring a little bit more context to the impossible promise. So I remember I came on board. So I came on board, and my job was to fix some service gross margin issues and position the company for growth. So I went to work on a lot of the foundational stuff, figuring out our service board layout, putting processes in place like triage, dispatch, and time entry. I then went to work on agreement profitability, making sure that we were leveraging tools, technology, and standardization. And about a year in, we were making our gross margin issues were pretty much fixed. The employee sat was up and the client sat was up. And it's like, okay, my bonus as a manager was based on increasing gross margin dollars, right? And we were pretty much we're running pretty smooth. I was getting about as much gross margin dollars as I could get with the revenue we had. So really the only way to increase my bonus was to go get more new business. So I started helping sales a lot. And I remember going on some sales calls and I was asking, some prospects, and this is in the 2010 timeframe, but I was asking prospects, it's like, I understand, that there's people are willing to stay with the devil they know, right? Until they really frustrate you, then you're willing to switch, your IT provider. So I said, what is it your current provider is doing that's frustrating you so much that you're willing to leave and switch providers? And a real common answer was, well, we have this flat fee agreement, but we keep getting all these bills for stuff that's outside of the agreement and we don't understand them. And I remember talking it over with the salesperson and our owner and thinking about the book, The E-Myth, which says, if you really want to make your processes work well, then make an impossible promise that forces you to rely on your processes. And if you fail to deliver on your processes, you have to pay. And I remember thinking, everybody's frustrated with their current vendors because they sold them a flat fee agreement, but they keep giving them these invoices. Would it help if we said, you'll never receive an invoice from us that you're not expecting, or we'll mark it no charge? And of course, the person was elated with that concept. But, I had to go back and work on our triage process and our dispatch process and our time entry process to make sure that we were always getting permission to do work outside of the agreement and documenting that permission in our tickets. and documenting that permission that they said, yeah, well, they understand the work we're about to do before we do the work is covered or not covered by their agreement. And that became a big competitive advantage for us. But I really did have to live up to that impossible promise by working on process and using those 5 phases. Understand the best practice, learn from your peers, document your new process, then train your team, and then implement it, and then measure and inspect what you expect. And I will say it seemed pretty scary to make that promise, but if we really did our processes and got that permission before we did work outside the contract, or got permission or gave scopes of work for anything we were doing outside of that flat fee, they were expecting the invoice, and it ended up working out really, really well. So that's kind of that back context on that.
Such a great
That's
story.
something you do, Rob. Do you do the same thing in your MSP? Did you get to that point?
No, definitely
Sorry,
not.
Rob. I should have prepped for that before they thrown that little humdinger at you. Let me switch gears. Another question. Something we get in the peer group conversations a lot is just that awareness. A lot of times the owner or whoever's in certain doesn't know or realize, whether it's inventory, real-time value, gross service margins, and that's the first step. And as you go through the phases, that third phase really is kind of train and get buy-in. I'd like to hear from you where you've helped your, our partners, your clients get success with that buy-in and training of their staff. That's something that comes up a lot. So do you mind talking to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. And I smile because I can think of those pre-go live jitters. Organizations and MSPs that have grown and been really successful. The owner comes to a realization that they can't continue to grow alone, so they engage with coaching. And sometimes, while they've been successful and sometimes even profitable, they're just not scalable. And so we come in with some really, really industry proven process and just turn things upside down. And as a coach, sometimes that buy-in is less to do with the techs and the engineers that are doing the work, but actually starts with the leadership team and getting them to trust and understand that you know what you're talking about, and there's lots of other partners that have gone through the the C-level process and now Pax8 Academy, and that while owners will say, "But I'm different," in a lot of cases they're not, right? And so getting that buy-in at the top, and the trust that the process is going to work, I think as a coach has been really, really important, because once you get the leadership team on board, it really does become this top-down buy-in, right? And so when engineers want to push back and on really core process like real-time time entry, oh, don't worry, I'll even use my own personal time after 5 o'clock to go in and document the tickets and enter the time. Well, look at the presentation that I just did, right? And I saw some of the reactions of the folks on the presentation here. They had no idea how many windows were in the school bus, right? So and that was what, 15, maybe 20 minutes. So imagine a full 8-hour day and you've covered off 12 tickets. How are you going to grab that detail?
I think he's calling us out, Rex, Bessie.
Yeah, Rob, there was a time when the timesheets would be due, and I'd be kind of looking back through my email sent items. I'd be looking, at my calendar, trying to figure out where I was, trying to reconstruct a week's worth of time entries, and they were terrible, totally indefensible.
And two things that
That
come to my mind is sorry, but two things come to my mind, Rob. Is one is you know you've seen this, you've heard all the excuses and reasons. We're different. We don't that won't work for us. And I remember all those times. It's like, well, but that the second thing is that recognizing, I can recall personally as an owner that it took me being tired to let go, right? And buying in myself and kind of saying, okay, let's give this a chance. Let's see. Oh, okay, I see where that would work, and break down those walls of my own mind, some of my own limitations or expectations or things I held on to. And that was kind of transformative. But it's kind of funny to hear you kind of go, yeah, I heard that one. Yeah. But yeah, okay, whatever. Bessie, I mean, I know you've been around the peer groups and the courses. You probably have experienced some of the similar comments from partners.
Yeah, I was just thinking too, just your story about it. Will it hold up in court? That's something I never would have thought for myself, but I think having that level of detail that can it be defensible, and is it something that not only it's obviously in the best interest of my client when I'm calling them back and saying, oh, I have all these detailed notes of when we last talked or how we solved your problem, but for many other reasons, it could be important to have those notes. So I really liked that. My question, Rob, for you was just around the PSA. Our title of the show today was also around the PSA. Do you have any red flags, green flags, maybe do's or don'ts of when you're setting up your PSA so you have the best possibility of catching these 5 chances?
Wow. Okay.
I know it
Do
might
we have a
depend
whole
on what
other
PSA.
show on?
Yeah.
Nice setup.
Yeah. So next week,
Yeah.
so definitely, Bessie, great question. I think that the core fundamental piece of any PSA is getting the ticket to set up for success. So being to collect that core information, taking a look at that slide that I talked about on getting contact information accurate, figuring out, impact and urgency to kind of help us drive priority. And then lastly is time entry. And so if the system that you're currently using doesn't have those core components, not to say it's not going to work for you now, but it may not definitely be a scalable solution for you.
Makes sense.
Rob, I got a question. If you're servicing flat fee agreements, does that mean that time entry is not important because you're not billing for the time?
Oh, great question, Rex. I think back to that show you did a couple weeks ago with the team from MSP CFO, and hopefully our viewers have had a chance to watch that. A very important component of managed services and flat fee agreements is something called shadow billable. So I won't dig into the details of shadow billable, but definitely it's extremely important that we're capturing all of that time to be able to understand, are we truly profitable with those fixed fee agreements?
Yeah, no, that's a big deal. I hear that a lot. One other quick question was you talked about go live. Can you kind of describe what that term means? That might be something that means something to us in Academy, but not all of our listeners.
Absolutely. So one of the core sections of coaching is something that we call service delivery. And so we go through and we work with you to get your PSA configured to be able to get the core data collected. And then the second component of that is our triage, dispatch, engineer time entry, ticket review, and timesheet review. And so all of those components, what we call sections 1 and 2 in our ops guide, bolt together into what often coaches will refer to as service delivery. And so after usually quite a bit of time working with our partners, we get to the point that the documentation's completed and the training's been completed. And one Friday night, we swing over, and this is our service delivery go live. And it's usually a bit of work. to get everything moved inside the PSA to the new configuration. Monday morning is sometimes smooth and sometimes a little difficult, but oftentimes coaches are right there, ready to help with any mission critical issues. So go live and service delivery go live is a big kind of rebirth in an MSP process.
There was a partner we were working with recently that they were kind of concerned that all the extra effort around dispatching and working out of calendars and that kind of thing was going to require them to hire more engineers. But do you remember what happened?
I do. Actually, when they were able to get all that reporting and being able to trust the data, they actually realized that they were perfectly structured to actually take on more clients and not do additional headcount.
Yeah, because of the efficiencies.
Yeah.
Rob, I think we have a question in the chat for you. So if we could bring that up, that would be great.
I can't read it.
Oh, it says, hi, Dad. Not quite a question, but this
So
definitely
as I
time
had
to
shared
wave
with the
hi.
team, yeah. So as I had shared with the team earlier, I was doing everything I could to drive viewership for today, and I may have gone as far as inviting my daughter to get just that additional +1.
You're going the extra mile as a coach. You're taking those extra steps, reaching out those resources, and leveraging those connections. Very impressive, Rob. Very impressive.
Thanks, Chris.
Hey, Rob, as we start to introduce centralized dispatch, right? That's something that, somewhere around 3 or 4 engineers, the economics of a dispatcher start to make sense. So, kind of tell me a little bit about that transition to introducing dispatch.
Yeah, so great point, Rex. We really kind of drilling in and understanding the issues that an MSP can experience with non-centralized dispatch. So with an increased ticket volume, we start seeing issues such as cherry picking. And so instead of working tickets on our best practices, which is actually by priority and then by age, we're allowing engineers to just kind of pick and choose, right? Oh, hey, I like that client, or hey, I like that end user, or hey, that's a password reset. So perfectly easy. The next issue that we run into with that queue-based ticket assignment is related to being able to forecast that engineer utilization. And so moving to that centralized dispatch allows us to force tickets to be worked in that priority and age order, but also allows us to understand if we want engineers to be 75% utilized or 75% billable in their shift, let's start stacking them up with tickets. And if we're seeing that we can't get to that utilization or that billable percentage, then what are the other things that we can be doing that probably our contract says that we're supposed to be doing? That proactive or that scheduled recurring work, and start getting that in and in front of those engineers.
Awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, they don't like it at first. I can promise you, every time we move from self-dispatch, cherry picking, whatever you want to work on, they do not like it, right? But what I've found is if we use those 5 phases, understand the best practice, document your new way, then train your team, and then implement, right? Which is where they start to not like it. But then we inspect what we expect. We measure, are they following the process? And when they're not, we teach and coach until they are. There's a phrase that I like to use when I'm coaching, is if your engineer can convince you that they're too stupid to follow your process, then they're smarter than you. And the reason I say that is because they try really hard to convince you that the new process is complicated or they don't understand it or whatever. Don't let them do not believe that they can't follow your process. We don't hire them because they're stupid. They will try to convince you they are.
Rob, we do have another question for you, Rob, and then can we pull that up too? So, what is a good goal of daily billing utilization? Mind taking a stab at that, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Thanks so much for posting that in the chat. I will start because I don't want to miss. Take a look at the Pax8 Academy course for 4 levers of gross margin.
Was it levers or levers?
Oh.
Well played.
And what color are those those levers? Thanks, Rex. So getting back to the question, we're coaching 75% over a 12-month period. And why I say that is kind of important. We need to factor in things like PTO and sick days. And so we're actually looking at 80% utilized for the days that you're on shift, which will then math out to 75% utilized across that 12-month period.
Yeah, I think 3 weeks ago we did the 4 levers on Academy Live, and we referenced the course that you can take online where you can download a spreadsheet. If you've got how much you pay your engineers as one lever, of your billing rate as a lever, your utilization as a lever. And as a manager, you move those, right? You move utilization by leveraging centralized dispatch and standardizing the way you work on tickets, right? But you increase pay. Like if you increase pay and don't increase the billing rate or utilization, your margin goes down. If you keep those 3 levers the same and you increase your billing rate and you keep pay and utilization the same, your margin's going to go up. And then that 4th lever has to do with the way you're leveraging flat fee revenue. If you get very efficient with your flat fee revenue, your margin will go up. 75% seems to be very sustainable. And there's a calculation in that 4 lever spreadsheet you can download.
Rob, I know we're getting to the end of our time here. So is there anything that you want to leave us with? Any other piece of advice for MSPs that are listening, or anything that we didn't ask you that you want to make sure to leave us with?
Or leave us with.
It's your birthday.
Yeah, I have to let Rex rip on me a little bit because he is getting a little older. So Bessie, I would say after being given a phenomenal opportunity through Pax8 to coach quite a few partners, I would say that don't be afraid, because the problems that you're going through as an owner, so many other organizations are going through the exact same thing. And I think until I had the opportunity to step in as a peer group facilitator, I didn't realize that a lot of the problems owners experience are common, and that by getting to the point of realizing that with help, either through a peer group, through a coach, through some type of interaction with other organizations, you'll realize that the problems are common, but so are the solutions.
I love that. I don't think I've ever heard it said that way. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much, Rob, for joining us today. It was amazing to have you as our very first week in back to school theme for the month. And it was just great. So great having you. Thank you so much. And I think
thanks so
Chris
much,
and
everybody.
Rex, let's go to final thoughts.
Thank you, Rob, for doing such a great job. The 5 chances to get an invoice correct. I put it in the chat. I remember I was standing on stage at a ConnectWise event and I rattled off those 5 phases and then somebody at the end said, "What were they?" And I was like, I don't know. And I remember it was somebody in the audience that took notes that rattled off what they were. And I was like, thank you. But then we turned it into more content, within Academy.
Yeah, I think I really want to just echo what Rob said of that there's a lot of help out there, and a lot of solutions available to you. There's a few things I want to just plug in the last few moments. So this presentation that Rob gave was a little snippet of a breakout session that he gave at Beyond. And you can actually already register for Beyond 2024. You just go to pax8beyond.com and I'll take you there. It's early bird pricing through the end of the year. So this is a great time to check it out. If you didn't get to go last year or you went last year and you want to make sure you go again, this is the perfect time to check it out. And there's also a few next steps he listed in the course. So one was an on-demand course. So if you're a partner, you just go to academy.pax8.com and you'll see all of our on-demand content. Help Desk 101 was one that he referenced. There's an instructor-led course that he referenced, which is Operations for Efficiency and Profitability, which is an amazing course. We offer it once a quarter. And of course, there's coaching and peer groups. So I just wanted to reiterate those. Chris, what's your final thought?
Just Rob did such a great job, and I think that it really reflects all of Academy. And these are built in response or for the benefit of our partners. A lot of these things are things like Rob said, common issues, and there's common solutions. So all the things across Academy really are designed for the MSPs and to help. So just encourage people to take advantage of those resources there.
Well, thank you so much for watching, and be sure to check us out next week. We'll be continuing with our back to school theme. So next week on 9/12, we'll have measure KPIs. On September 19th, we'll have marketing and sales development. And on 9/26, we'll have leverage your tools. So make sure to tune in and check us out. Remember, we are live every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time, and we're on demand always. So please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you do not miss a single one. We can't wait to have you back to school. So Rex, can you close this out?
Between now and next Tuesday, we would love it if you would ask yourself, what am I going to do differently tomorrow? Bye.